Ohio Senator Rob Portman, Republican from Ohio. Mr. Senator, welcome to the program. I wonder if you join this debate. I'm asking these, you've been listening, I'm just going to ask the question again. If we bail out or help an industry or a company like Boeing, should we, the taxpayer, the government, have an ownership stake of that company? What do you say?
Well, Stuart, I think we need to take a deep breath and realize that the last few years we've seen tremendous economic growth, including to the point of wages, 19 months of wage increases over 3% until this month. We've seen unemployment at historic levels, 50-year lows. We've seen a lot of investment in our economy, so not just new jobs and better jobs, but investment in technology and productivity. The market works when you provide the right kind of tax policy, regulatory policy, and so on. Now we have a crisis. I think it's important that we not say, okay, during this crisis, let's change that fundamental view that markets work during normal times, because we're going to get out of this. And we all want the V, as the economists call it, where you go in deep and you sometimes come out deep. We want the recovery to be very strong as well. So I think we need to be careful. With regard to the airlines, we need to help save them. There's no question about it. And one could argue that's not, market forces. Well, we're in an extraordinary time.
But do we own them?
But to own the airlines is a mistake, in my view.
Okay.
Let's be sure the loans are collateralized. They should be collateralized by the assets the airlines have. They have tremendous assets. I know they'd like to see grants. Okay. I think it's better to provide loans. And to the point that we weren't paid back after TARP, that's just not accurate. Those loans were paid back. In fact, the government made some money, as you know, on that, and that was appropriate. Okay. So I think we need to be careful not to sort of change our approach. Forget the word ideology. Let's look at what's the American approach, which is to have created over the last few years one of the strongest economies that we've had, and certainly compared to the rest of the world, the most dynamic economy.
Which industries do we help? You want to help the airlines, but which do we not help? I mean, I raised the issue of the cruise line industry, for example, in dire straits. Should we help them? The skiing industry, I believe, is in dire straits. Should we help them?
Well, this is a very difficult decision, because the list goes on, as you can imagine. I'm in the restaurant business. Those who are in the hospitality business, including hotels, of course, are asking for direct relief, as are people in the entertainment business. Think of movie theaters. There are others. Bowling alleys in Ohio have come to me and said, where's our relief? So, I mean, I think what we need to do is broad, general relief. And there are two things I'm excited about. One is this idea of SBA loans running through banks. I'm talking about community banks and savings and loans and our credit unions, where people actually get their money if they're small business owners, and being able to back up those loans. The thought is 90%, maybe even 100% backup if necessary, to be sure that these entities can continue to be viable across the board. So that's very exciting, I think, to think about the government being able to back up the banks, not running it through the SBA, but having the SBA back them up. And then second, on the tax side, there are a number of things we can do, Stuart, to help all of these industries that are suffering from losses right now. One is to allow their losses to be monetized. In other words, that they can go back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years with their net operating losses. This will be very helpful for all those industries you named, including the cruise ship lines and so on. That's going to be in our bill, I think. I hope that Democrats and Republicans can agree on that, because that's the ability to get cash to people right away. Interest deductions, very important. Let's go back to 100% deduction on interest, because you want people to be able to borrow and get an interest deduction.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Yes.
Right now, under the current law, that's restricted somewhat. So to go from 30% to 50% of adjusted gross income, that will allow the business folks who are your viewers to be able to say, okay, I feel better now by going out and getting that loan to be able to make it through this tough time. Because we all hope it will be, a few months, not a few years. We all hope it will be a blip and we'll be able to get back on track.
Clearly, help is on the way. It's just the mechanism which you use to help all those people badly affected. I do have to ask you, Senator, about the proper functioning of Congress. We have 2 House members who've tested positive for the virus, and one person, Tom Cole, who's been associated with them. He's gone into voluntary quarantine. Can you proceed normally? Can Congress do its job in a situation like this?
Stuart, as you know, maybe I have a concern about this, and I think that we should have the ability during times of emergency, and these are going to be very rare instances, for Congress to be able to express itself remotely. In other words, gathering the House of Representatives right now is a decision the Speaker and the Republican leader are going to have to make. I'm not going to prejudge what they might decide. But when you have people who have tested positive and then people have been exposed to them, self-quarantining, it's hard for me to imagine right now people gathering in the normal way. Maybe there's a way to gather through more social distancing, but I think this is an example of where remote voting is necessary in extreme situations like this. So I am introducing legislation today. I've been working on this for the past few weeks with colleagues on both sides of the aisle. It'll be bipartisan. It will simply say that the leadership is able to ascertain when there's an emergency like this that there is a secure means to vote without being here, so that the continuity of government can be something that we're assured of. And look, I hope it only be used in very, very rare instances, but I think we ought to have that capability in situations like this.
Yes, sir. Senator Rob Portman, Republican, Ohio. Thanks for joining us, sir. We're obliged.
Stuart, thank you. Thanks for being on. Thanks for the information you're giving out to people. I watch you, as you know, and it's been very helpful.
Why didn't you tell me that at the beginning of the interview, sir, and you could have the rest of the show? I mean,
it would have been a much better interview, right?
Oh, yeah. Senator, we're obliged to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stuart.
Appreciate it. All right, let's get back to